teams that you think really filled their need bucket in this draft? You know, I don't have all 32 draft soup to nuts 1 through pick 7 or what have you, seventh rounder. But which team do you think, or teams, filled up their needs that they had to have in this draft?
I love what the Steelers did, man. They started last year when they went out and got Samalo in free agency. Then they drafted Broderick Jones, and then they come back in this draft, and you get Fatanu from Washington to play left tackle. I love the fit there, the athleticism, the physicality there at left tackle. They go out and get Zach Frazier, one of the top centers in the draft, who's plug and play, who just is, the wrestling background, the toughness, just kind of he oozes that he could be a Steeler. And then they go out and get McCormick from South Dakota State, who's a real strong, powerful guard. Like, they have added a lot of young, talented resources to that offensive line. And then you also go out and get Roman Wilson, who you know well, Rich, who I thought was like a Jaden Reed type player. And we saw how quickly Jaden Reed transitioned with the Green Bay Packers, and they got him up and running, the success he had. So I feel like the Steelers, I wouldn't say that they lost their way a few years ago, but they went from being, one of the 2 or 3 most physical teams in the league, year after year after year, to kind of, it just was it didn't really have an identity offensively. And some of that, was blowback on Matt Canada, but I also don't think they kind of knew who they were. And I think right now they have established they are an offensive line with 2 tight ends, 2 big physical tight ends. They've got 2 backs. Deontay Johnson's gone. They are going to be kind of a ground and pound team. And they also add into the mix now with the 2 quarterbacks that they have. Even though Russ is a little bit older, he can take some of those free yards. And we know what Justin Fields can do with his legs. So I feel like the Steelers kind of got back to who they are in this draft.
Interesting. What did you make of the Chargers' first draft with Harbaugh and how it's remaking the team that you've seen right there in front of you from the radio booth last few years?
Well, I do feel somewhat vindicated because throughout the whole process, they've said they're going to take an offensive lineman at 5. And there was so much pushback saying there's no way. If Keenan leaves, Mike Williams leaves, they have to go wide receiver. And I'm like, there's 2 things in play here. There's the depth of this receiver class, which they can tap into outside the first round. And then this is a flag in the ground draft, for Jim Harbaugh to establish what they're all about. He wasn't secretive about it, Rich, in an era where you get non-answers at, owners' meetings and the combine. All he's done is extol the virtues and the value of the offensive line from the moment he got hired in that press conference throughout every media availability that he's had. So, I didn't think should have been too much of a shock, but everybody was still expecting to go receiver, and they go out and get the best offensive lineman in the draft, in my opinion. And Joe Alt, and then McConkey's there for him in the second round, who I loved, who's really a complete wide receiver. I think Justin Herbert's going to love working with him. And then they go out, and I feel like almost every team we talk about, I can tell you the Michigan guy that they got. But Junior Colson is someone who not only is one of the better linebackers in the draft, I got to believe he's the only linebacker in the draft that's going to be playing in the exact same defense he played in college. So with the same defensive coordinator, the same head coach. So he's set up to get on the field right away and make an impact there. So it was just to use a Harbaugh phrase, it was like kind of a meat and potatoes, maybe a little steak and milk. It was just exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, the question is Alt's going to play right tackle, but that's not what made him the 5th overall pick in the draft, right?
Yeah,
so
but he also. So he's young. He's like 21 years old.
Right.
He was a tight end until 2 years ago. So within 2 years, he went from never having played left tackle to being the 5th pick in the draft. And the transition from left tackle to right tackle is a lot less than the transition from tight end to left tackle. So the belief is this will not be that complicated. His dad having played in the league for a million years. He's grown up around it. He'll be able to put that together. He'll be able to figure it out. I think they're pretty confident about that. I do know that they, that Alt on his side of it wanted to know, like right after he was drafted, hey, what's the plan? Because I want to start repping, whatever I'm going to be doing. I want to start working on that right now. So I thought that was fascinating. One other thing, Rich, I wanted to hit you on while I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
You remember the conversation we had on, the struggle to develop young quarterbacks?
Yes, sir.
We had a great conversation there. And I said, I think virtual reality is I think that you're going to use technology to try and make up for the lack of time these guys are getting on the field. And Jaden Daniels, he went through that at LSU and really used that virtual reality system, and he credits it a lot with his growth and development over the last year. there are quarterbacks in the NFL that I was made aware of today that are going to be making their way down to Baton Rouge to get their hands on this technology to be able to do the exact same thing that we were discussing in terms of being able to get reps even when you're not on the field.
And that's the point, of trying to figure out how to get these young kids that are needing reps, decision-making reps, actual real deal, breaking a sweat. How do you get them up to speed? I mean, with Penix going to be sitting there, how can he stay sharp and get the pro ready, needing to get adjusted to the speed of the game type readiness? All these guys that get pushed up the draft or get pushed up into starting positions in the NFL. How do you do it? And just real quick, tell that story you told about you heard an actual bona fide backup quarterback in the NFL, what he has to do because he knew he wasn't getting the opportunities that he needed to stay sharp. Go ahead.
He would go through the day with his team, get through practice where he would be, doing some scout team stuff, but it's a different offense every week. He's not getting a chance to learn and grow and throw the routes and look at the combinations of routes he would be running in this particular offense. Just wasn't getting any work or any reps, and quite honestly, not even getting the number of throws that he would need. So practice would end. He would finish up his day at the facility, and then he had it set up at a junior college, across town with his, with a private quarterback coach, with a collection of receivers, which I'd assume are junior college kids or high school kids, whoever he could get out there. And they would basically kind of go through. He would have the game plan for the week for the, for the real offense, for the number one offense. And he would kind of just run through it on air. There's no defense out there, but get a chance to just run through things on air just to get his throws in, to get his work in, to have them looking at his mechanics to make sure he's staying sharp in that regard. But he had to basically outsource his development.
It just gobsmacks me in the NFL where there's revenue coming out of every stream possible. That an actual bona fide backup quarterback in the NFL feels the need to have to take it into his own hands and create his own mini camp after work. It's just nuts. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.